Hunger Games. Now, okay, you're not in timeout anymore.
Hunger Games version.
Hunger Games. Gishes. That's fantastic. Like, people can fly in the supplies that you need to make candy mosaics or something if you're struggling, particularly in the woods, and then other Gishes teams can kill you. We have this game called Assassin. Did anyone ever play Assassin? When I was in college, we played Assassin, and basically it was just, you get, like, everybody who signs up to play Assassin gets a squirt gun. And the idea is you had I think you had like maybe 3 or 4 days or something like that to kill you were given a name. It was somebody else in the game of Assassin, somebody that you didn't know, but it was on our college campus. And you had to kill them with your squirt gun. You had to squirt them. And it was absolutely terrifying. Like, I didn't want to go to class. I shot my girl very quickly. We had co-ed bathrooms, and I just stood on the toilet in the bathroom stall in her dorm, and she foolishly, without checking by looking underneath the door first, she just opened the door, and I was like, shot her in the face. And anyway, I got shot coming out of a sociology class. I got my guard down, but it was really scary. It was exciting. But it would be fun to do something like that. We should do a supernatural fandom game of Assassin. Where all of the family, such a loving community, wouldn't it be great if everybody was trying to kill each other? Just to sort of give the counterbalance. Yes, kill everyone in the family. Bonus points for beheadings. Okay, this is taking a dark turn. Thank you. That was you took us to a dark place. Hi.
Hi, Misha.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
This is my first convention, so I'm really excited to be here.
How's it going so far?
Really well.
Really?
I
Is
love
it what you expected?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is what you expected.
Yes.
Did you watch videos in advance to prepare yourself? Yes. Why did you decide to come?
Because I love the show and I love all the actors involved with it.
Good answer. Give her a cookie, please. How long did you think about coming to a convention?
Ever since I started watching the show.
When was that?
A few years ago.
Okay. Great.
So my question is, in Girls, 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 we saw a glimpse of Dean's dating profile, and I was wondering what Castiel's profile would look like if he made one all on his own.
I don't understand that reference. Probably would definitely factor into his profile. What's that? Well, that's probably not something to lead with. Yeah. Actually, we really could put together an entire profile just from quotes from the show. Like, hey, don't worry, you'll be satisfied with me. I learned it all from the pizza man. And take your time when you're ready. I'll just wait here. Then. I'm not sure how the voice says I'm almost out of minutes works into it, but I'm sure we can figure it out. So now you're confusing me with Castiel, which is awkward for me. Speaking of which, I have long toyed with online dating profiles, or strange profiles in general for some reason. I created an unusual LinkedIn profile, I would say. I also created a dating profile. So in Los Angeles, we have this puma. It's a mountain lion who lives in Griffin Park, which is like Los Angeles's version of Central Park, and it's this full-on mountain lion, walking around in the city's park. And they don't know quite how we got down into this park, across the river and the freeways, and got into the park. The problem, his name is P22, and the problem for P22 is that he is not going to be able to find a mate in the park. I know, it's a bummer. And so, wildlife conservationists are trying to figure out how to solve the problem. They talk about building bridges across the freeways just for P22, so that he could like go back into the mountains and find a mate. And other really ridiculous, incredibly expensive civil engineering projects to solve, the sexual frustrations of this lion. So I, being the tech-savvy individual that I am, solved the problem by creating an online dating profile for P22, which was kind of a hit, but then was taken down. I think it was on Match.com or something like that. They had the good taste to like make a public comment about how they did appreciate it, but it's it's not an interspecies dating platform or whatever. My neighbor has a security camera on our street that captured the mountain lion walking down our street, like 2 doors down at night. This thing is this tall. It's a real mountain lion. I mean, doesn't that sound sexy to you? Okay, I think I crossed the line. Thank you. Hey, I have a question for you. So you haven't been here before. Did you expect it to be so full of like sexual innuendo?
I actually did because I watched videos of past conventions.
All right, okay. So we have a pattern of that kind of behavior.
I was born.
I'm sorry, everybody. Sorry to the parents of the children that were on the meet and greet with me. Sorry. I know I teased you. You were like, ah, and then I started talking again. I recently, there's an actor up in Vancouver who has kids who are big fans of Supernatural. And I did a panel, and it was a particularly kind of blue panel for some reason. There was a lot of talk about genitalia and stuff like that. It was pretty fucking gross. And right after, I went out into the hallway and I saw this actor and he's like, oh, hey man. He's like, hey, he's like, great panel. I was like, thank you. And then his 12-year-old daughters came out and I was like, oh. Yeah, it's so great to meet you. Were you in the film too? Awkward. But I digress. Sorry, you were saying. Speaking of sexual innuendo, for some reason, we were down towards Seattle, and we recently wound up at a bikini coffee shop. So, do you know about these? It's fantastic. So they basically have coffee shops that you can drive through, or you can come in and get your morning coffee or whatever. And
they wear bikinis.
They call it bikinis, and basically they're wearing underwear. And it's great because it's like on the way to work, you sort of stop off at a strip club. And you can be totally like, oh what? No, fuck, it was just on the way, I'm getting coffee. What? No big deal. So, anyway, Honda Odyssey minivan, packed full of kids. My son West and his 5-year-old friend Atticus are sitting back there and pull up, and they're going to get hot chocolate with whipped cream. And they engaged in this incredible debate about what was going on, because we're in the car, she's at the window, she's wearing a lacy black bra, very revealing, very small, lacy black underwear, and Wes is like, why is she wearing a bathing suit? And Atticus is like, I don't know, I mean, we're not that close to the beach. And Wes is like, yeah, and it's pretty cold out. And then Wes finally said, you know what? I think she's just showing off. That was amazing. But anyway, you were saying.
If Castiel were to walk into a pet shop, what animal would he go to see first?
Guinea pig! Guinea pig!
Unicorn. No, Cass would definitely get a pony. I, for some reason, I think it was the second convention that I was ever at. It was in Australia, and I had done, there's a unicorn. I did my first panel, it was in New Jersey. It was, that was 400 conventions ago. And I got up, I was backstage, and came up and was like, oh my God, first of all, at that point, I still hadn't watched all the episodes of Supernatural, and I had been the night before boning up, trying to watch episodes, because I knew I was just going to get up here. I felt like I was going to a quiz. I was nervous, and I knew for a fact I was going to have nothing to say, and I got up and I was like, I'm just trying to answer the questions earnestly, like I still do. And I had a pretty, it was a pretty traumatizing experience. I don't know, if you get up and you just stand up in front of a large group of people and they're all looking at you and they're expecting you to be interesting, and you're not being interesting, it's a really bad feeling. And then my next convention, I believe, was in Australia, and somebody asked me something about cats and animals, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was trying to remember, remember the episodes I'd seen and trying to make sense of everything, and I was like, wait a minute, none of this fucking makes sense. I'm not going to pretend I know what's going on. And then I just made up this weird story about Castiel and his team of magical ponies that helped facilitate all of his transactions. And it was this seminal, liberating moment for me when I realized I can do whatever I want and get away with it. So the pony still had, it holds a special place in my heart. Also, for some weird reason, I think I might have a weird pony obsession now that I've mentioned it, because also the day that I started my Twitter account, I mentioned that I was down in some bunker, and I had no food, and I was being forced to cannibalize my pony. I guess that's not cannibalism unless I'm a pony. You know what's super surreal is right now I say things like that and then I think, shit, now somebody's going to draw me as a pony, and so you have to parse your words carefully.
Already done.
It already exists. Okay, I will not Google it. Thank you for that advice. Oh, I see. The wings are on my butt. Okay. Thank you. I love it when people give me their phones. I don't know how to use Google phones. Oh, she's a college student? So don't go into her Snapchat? How do I get into Snapchat? There's no Snapchat? And you call yourself a college student? Shame on you. I can't even find any dirty pictures. What's going on? Who's Kane and Gwen? You're Gwen? Alright, we're gonna let it go. I know, but I didn't realize the mother was sitting next to you. The mothers are always worse. Okay, did we satisfy you? Great. Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. How are you?
Very good. Okay, my question is, what was the process like for you preparing to play Lucifer, the Castiel version, or the Lucifer version of Castiel?
Don't complicate things unnecessarily. We know what you're talking about. When I saw the script where Castiel becomes Lucifer, I thought, my first reaction was, oh shit, this is going to be impossible, because Mark Pellegrino had done such a good job with the character that, yeah, it's annoying, because it sets me up for failure. Like, how am I going to do anywhere near as good as he did, because he did such a good job. Thank you for that. That helps. You can tell my ego is fragile right now. I think. By the way, I just polished these shoes, and they are covered with fire extinguisher spray.
You can still smell the
You can
smoke.
smell it? It is very pungent. Yeah, there's a lot of... I did feel like I was really getting in trouble out there in the woods. It was one of those moments like, shit, here they come. Are they going to shut down the convention? Are they never going to let us back? And the hotel staff did look at me like, what the fuck are you doing in the woods? And I explained, Jim made me. Right, Jim? He's not here. Are you talking to the police right now, Jim? Poor Jim. But I was saying. So I went. Mark Pellegrino was up shooting at that point, and I actually called him, and I was like, "Hey, this is a little weird, but would you help me cheat?" And so I watched his recent episodes repeatedly, so I could sort of pick up on some of the mannerisms. And then I went over to his house, and him and his wife Tracy and myself, we broke down the scene, and you know, he gave me little tips, like he told me things about his mindset about Lucifer. Like he said that Lucifer is always either looking at people thinking, am I going to kill them or am I going to fuck them? Which is helpful framing. It's informative. So the next time, like, you're coming in for photo ops and Mark Pellegrino's like, come on in. You know what's going on in his head. One of two things. Changes things, doesn't it? Yeah. Hi.
Hi, my name is Julia.
Hi, Julia.
Hi.
You have a ribbon on. Did you win something?
I'm celebrating my sweet 16.
Oh my God. How many of you are not 18 years old?
So maybe we can round up. Round down. Define not, Marilyn. I'm not.
Wish you had told me that before we started this channel. Hi.
Hi. My question is, did you always know that you wanted to be an actor, or was there a turning point in your life where it kind of clicked that was what you wanted to do?
No, I did not always know. In fact, let me tell you my entire life story. Arsonist? Did you say arsonist? We did, as children, there were a lot of other kids at school who were not allowed to play with me and my brother. We did start a lot of fights. Yeah, that was a thing. We lived in a rural community, and there was one point when I was trying to remove debris in the yard. I think I was probably 14. My brother was 12, and I thought, well, let's just pile everything up and burn it. And I poured a lot of gasoline on it, and it took, I was actually fairly impressed by this, but it took the fire departments of 7 towns. And then later our house did burn down to the ground, but that was a separate incident. That's a whole like genre of stories I can tell you, but I'm not going to go there. So I wanted to, my mother was, did a lot of, she was a performer, she was a storyteller, and she would come and go to schools and do storytelling at schools, and she did a lot of community theater. But never really made any money doing that. So I never considered it as a viable career option. And then I went to college, and I was planning to go into politics. And that was my vision for my future. So don't get me started on the president thing. I can't take it anymore right now. I'm like losing sleep. So I never thought of it like as something I could actually do for a job. And then I worked at National Public Radio, and I interned in the White House, and I thought, God, this looks like a really hard way to get stuff done. Maybe what I should do is get famous and then use my celebrity as a way to like get things done. And so, really, like this is the thinking that I had, which is obviously the machinations of a crazy person. Like that is not a sane career path to chart for yourself. And I shared that with people. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I want to become an actor, become super famous, and then use that as a force for good. And my mother-in-law, she said, well, interesting idea. Hear me out. What about being a physical therapist instead? There was a lot of very well-founded incredulity about this idea. But at the time, I did not think of acting as something that I actually wanted to do for my career. It was just a means to an end. And I also had budgeted for myself 5 years. I was like, look, I'll give it 5 years. If I'm not, you know, a movie star in 5 years, then I'll pull the plug and do something else. And 5 years after that, I was basically burying myself in debt and occasionally getting small guest star roles on things like Charmed. Making sometimes as much as $10,000, $12,000 in a year. So, what? No, I was not paid nearly as well as a teacher. Yeah. Teachers were, at that point, I considered teachers, you know, rich, snobby people. So anyway, but in the process, I started to really like the job and kind of fell for it and found that I could find that acting was creatively gratifying, and that's what ended up keeping me at it for long enough that I did eventually, you know, develop some semblance of a career at it. But I came to it for really weird reasons, and then I stuck with it because I actually enjoyed the work. That's my life story.
Hi, I saw you last year. Nice to see you again.
you again. I've been wondering, how have you been?
I've been great. How about you?
Great, thank you. Yeah, it's nice to catch up.
Since Castiel has developed a lot as a character since he first showed up until now, how do you think he's going to develop further from now until the end of the show?
You mean since the portrayal of Castiel has been so wildly inconsistent?
Kind of, yeah.
We call that character development, but it's actually just lazy acting. Yeah. That just reminded me, literally last night I had a dream about that. I was like, wait a minute, you're all over the map with this character. What are you doing? Castiel is not supposed to be crazy right now. That's so funny, because I don't really dream about Castiel very often, but it reminded me. What did you ask me?
Do you want a different question?
No, what was the question, seriously?
Since Castiel has all...
Oh, yeah.
Would you like me to continue?
Yep.
Since Castiel has already made a lot of character development from when he showed up until now, how do you think he's going to develop further from now until the end of the show?
Oh, you mean between now and 2040? Wouldn't that be weird? Like those of you, the 16-year-olds in the audience will be coming up and they'll be like,
I'm 21.
Misha, this is my granddaughter. I remember the first time I met you, I was just 16 years old.
How did you know I'm 16?
I've been keeping tabs on you. You know, after we met last year, I was like, I gotta make sure, I know everything that you're doing. What's that?
Why haven't you followed me back on Twitter?
Okay, I don't want to have this argument again. I think that it is constantly shifting sands. I mean, it's actually, I think, probably a very interesting exercise for the writers, and it's interesting for us as actors, too, because things happen. The character is changed by the events that unfold in the story, and then we all have to just work with that. And there's so many variables that go into it that we can't predict where it's going to go. You know,
How would you
like a writer will write something like, Metatron has just downloaded for Castiel all pop cultural references. Like in that moment, that character is actually changed radically, and now will walk around and name himself Agent Beyonce. But that's something that happens in the moment. Like the writer is writing, and in the moment comes up with that idea, and that changes the character from that point forward forever in some way. And so there's all these little building blocks that are kind of constantly morphing us, and it's impossible to know where things go.
How would you like him to go?
Well, I guess in a way, I would like to stick to have the character stick with some of his core identities, like the fact that Castiel is primarily and consistently motivated by doing the right thing, even if that means self-sacrifice or doing something that is wrong in the moment. Like he's motivated by doing the right thing and being just. And I guess as the character morphs, I hope that he retains that quality, and that core element of him doesn't somehow get lost. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't want it to change at all.